Three, two, one.
All right. Welcome to the second review of the evening. Up this time is Shadows of Kurgansk, a ostensibly PC survival horror, survival crafting. I'm not exactly sure what you call this genre. It's like
It has a name, we just don't know it.
I think
Yeah.
survival crafting is probably the best. It's kind of started by Minecraft, but not. Minecraft
Yeah.
was the first one to be really super crafty based.
Right. Though Minecraft is still more considered to be like a sandbox builder than it's got those elements, but I think the real progenitor of all this, or at least the tropes as we know it, is DayZ.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember that game, or mod, as the case may be,
Yeah, it used to be Arma 3 or something like that.
Arma 2,
Arma
then
2,
it got
yeah.
and then it got popular enough to become its own early access game. And I think it's still in early access. I mean, that's the case for a lot of these games.
Mhm.
And that's actually why I'm surprised not only has this game been released, like it's considered to be fully released and all that. It just got mobile versions released last month, which I
Mhm.
think was the tip off, that this game was actually released, because we've had this game since last year, when we did an interview with Gaijin Entertainment. Good, 2-3 seasons ago. It's been a while. So, and they're the developers of War Thunder. If you need help remembering it, but Shadows of Kurgansk was a game given to us, as it was the I believe premier launch title for their incubation program, a label spinoff where they publish external projects. They're not the developers of this game, just the publishers. Um, Trying to remember who the and the developers are Yadon Studio. Anyway, so at its core, I'd I, I'd say this is a pretty typical survival crafting game. I have to do some hesitation here because, admittedly, I haven't played a ton of these games. Um, for one thing, I'm not really. It's not really in my range of appeal, and I'm not the only one here who feels that way.
Yeah, me neither. And part of it is because I think, for a similar reason as you, this is a kind of game that I don't think is really worth it unless you're going to be putting a lot of time in it.
Right.
I wouldn't recommend Minecraft either to someone who's like, I like to play games for about 20 hours and then go on to the next game. I would not recommend Minecraft to someone like that.
Yeah. And well, it's also because, as I mentioned, so many of these games are still early access and have been for like years upon years. Rust is still in early access. 7 Days to Die is still in early access, and so on and so forth. Like not every one of these is in early access. Like State of Decay, not
Mhm.
only that one is fully formed and has had a Game of the Year edition and has a sequel coming out next month, I think. The point is, I really don't like investing in early access games because they're early access games. And, I'm looking at the Rust page here, and it's been its initial release date was December 11th, 2013. Like, good God, this game has spent almost 4 years in early access and is probably not very close to releasing. So, given that in mind, it's kind of a minor miracle that Shadows here has been released and has gotten a mobile version.
Yeah, I think for a lot of these games, there's just not enough pressure to actually release.
Yeah, I'm like, so I'll commend them on that, but I'm like, I think you're going to note there is a severe flaw here in the fact that this game has mobile versions. Like, now it didn't start out on mobile devices, but the fact that they can get them on mobile devices suggests that, yeah, the play area isn't very big. You know, compared to what you usually get in survival crafting games.
Yeah, I didn't actually play the survival mode. I only was trying to play through the story mode because I figured that would be a better way to get a feel for how you actually play the game, because I'm terrible at this kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed even in that the map they give you isn't very big, and I don't know how far you can go past that.
Well, it's kind of it's broken up into areas. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, you will be able to access other areas, but it's not one seamless world. So that helps it get it on, you know, like your phone or your tablets. Mm-hmm. Not that I'd really recommend playing this game on a tablet or touchscreen. This is kind of the reverse.
I'm not sure how that would work. The game requires like half the buttons on a keyboard normally to play properly.
I'm sure they've simplified the controls. I'm like, I'd probably have to look at some mobile footage. But yeah, this game is definitely very much a PC game. And I suspect that this game will suffer the problem we mentioned in our previous title, color code. You know, just in reverse. Because, you know, I mean, if you see the video here, you know, it's geared towards PC controls. Like, I wouldn't even recommend playing this with a controller. If you can
I do think a lot of the PC controls are relatively unnecessary. I mean, you really don't need like different menus for like inventory and crafting, and like you could theoretically do all of those from the same thing, I think, but I don't know. I'm not an expert in this kind of game.
I'm like, that's just kind of how PC design goes. Like, if you've ever played.
No, I'm fully aware that games have a lot of hotkeys that are designed for the PC, and I appreciate the benefits of that.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, in terms of design, well, there's actually a few different modes. There's story mode, in which you are, well, some hapless survivor dropped off in an unspecified but very clearly inspired by Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl.
Yeah, it's definitely Russian.
Yeah. Russian, Eastern European, somewhere from, like...
Yeah, it's part of the non-populated part of Russia, and there was something bad that happened here because there are zombies now and fields that drive people that go into anomalies that drive people who go into houses and stuff insane.
Right. But I'll note there are actually two story campaigns: the Deserted Shore, and the Way Home,
and the tutorial, which is super short.
Yeah.
But I think even the other ones are pretty short.
Right. Well, I put in about 10 hours into the Deserted Shore campaign, and it's not that short.
Oh, okay. Do there keep being missions, or is there just more to do?
Yeah, there keep being missions. There keep being storyline missions.
Because that's what makes it story mode, is they keep giving you objectives to complete. And you don't have to go, like, hurry and complete them. You can screw around pretty much as you want, as long as, keep fed and don't die to zombies.
Right. Well, even then, another thing that kind of separates things from other survival games is there's not no penalty for dying, but there's a really light one. Like, you'll spawn at the beginning of the area, so to speak, and you'll lose some stuff, like maybe some food, maybe some equipment, what have you.
Mhm.
But in like survival crafting terms, it's pretty lenient.
Yeah,
But
roguelike this is not.
Well, that's not exactly true either, because that's where
this mode isn't.
Yeah, that's where the survival mode comes from, which is your more traditional survival crafting, and that actually does play out like a roguelike, because if you die, you die. You have to begin at the beginning, but it's like a modern day roguelike where attributes stick around. Roundabout leveling up, if you want to call it that. And there's also an adventure mode, which is, doing objectives just without the story. So overall, there's a lot of content here, and there's quite a few play styles, which is really good. Like, if you're like Galax here and not too good at these kind of games, you can just, you can play the story mode, and surprisingly, that's the casual setting.
Yeah, I died a few times because the Deserted Shore gives you a very durable wrench, but like just durable rusty wrench. I mean, compared to sticks at the very beginning, but I broke a lot of trees, and then I died and lost all of the sticks that I got from breaking all of those trees.
Yeah, well, and there's quite a bit of nuance to the game. For example, when it comes to trees, you're suggested to take them down with an axe. You don't have to. You can use other weapons or other tools, but using an axe will be much smoother and with much less wear on the item. Yeah, I mean, this being a crafting game, your items, a lot of things are subject to wear and tear.
And as long as you don't run out, it's not usually that hard. I mean, it's not hard to make a pick if you have an axe. It's not hard to make an axe if you have a pick. It's a little bit hard to make an axe or a pick if you don't have anything.
Right. Well, and keep in mind, this is where the crafting part of the genre description comes into play, because you do need the requisite items to craft these things. And in the case of like the pick, you need and it depends on the mode, actually. I did play the other mode, and it's actually a lot simpler. Probably because it's the starting area or whatever, but like in the Abandoned Shore, you need quite a bit of, you need flint, a stick, and rope, as opposed to like the tutorial / the Lost Friend, where you just need flint and a stick to make a simple axe. They don't give you the simple axe option here. So, and the pick is actually easier because it's easier to find stones. That's another thing that you might be wary of. There's no I saw wikis for Shadows of Kurgansk, but they were in different, they were like German and Russian and all that stuff. I did not see an English version of that. That being said, the crafting tables are not too complicated.
They're not like Minecraft levels of deep.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily.
Although the tech level of this game is higher.
Yeah.
And in fact, skips a few steps
It's
because there's plastic and glass stuff just lying around that you can use.
Yeah, it's not as obtuse as Minecraft because the recipes flat out tell you what you need.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger challenge is figuring out where the items are. Like where I got to this mission where to build a bridge. I needed 5 nails, 5 logs, and 5 planks. And the question was more, where do you find logs and where do you find planks? And the answer is you cut down trees for the logs, and you get planks by cutting down fences. There is a logical progression here when it comes to items and resources. That is handy. Now, it's just the flint thing was the thing that was stumping me for a while because I just couldn't find any flints until I broke a boulder.
Yeah, and Adam helped me with that. I was looking around because in the tutorial mission there is flint just lying. I mean, there's not a lot of it, but there is just flint just lying around.
Right, and that is actually the case in the other story mode because the story mode actually uses the tutorial area as its area.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So is that one a direct sequel to the tutorial then? Because the Abandoned Shore isn't.
It doesn't seem to be.
Okay. Well, yeah. I guess at the end of the tutorial you get teleported away by one of the anomalies. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, so. Anyway, the graphics. So, the graphics are kind of interesting here, in that they are less realistic than you usually see in one of these games. I heard Twilight compared to Borderlands. It's not that cartoony.
Yeah, not quite so cartoony, but it's...
it's definitely more stylized than, say, State of Decay or 7 Days to Die or something like that.
Yeah.
And that actually may put off some people, who demand that, any sort of deviation from the realist brown trope is, is for less than mature audiences or whatever. I have seen this mindset. Like, there are people who will not play Borderlands because of this. Like, never mind that I'd say that the graphic stylings is probably the most standoutish part about this game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that in one other category, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Like, music and sound, this being a survival crafting game, there's no music to speak of. The sound, though, is pretty spot on. As this is kind of where the survival horror thing comes into play. There's one of your stats is mental health, and
which makes sense.
A sanity meter, if you will, and the more that ticks down, the more crazy shit you will see, like hallucinations, voices, children's laughter, that sort of thing.
Yeah, what do the ghosts do? The thing said that they're like good luck and they can point the way to stuff, but most of the ones I found just kind of were there.
They're kind of supposed to lead to something to happen such.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think I ever figured that out. With my
the first time they gave me hey, with that ghost is there, was that really a ghost? And I was like, I didn't see it until I walked quite a ways.
Yeah.
But
I actually backtracked something. I suppose there is a bit of music. It's kind of scary jump scare music that'll play at night.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Creepy.
And there is a radio sometimes. I don't know if you can listen to the radio.
Well, the radio is like a big part of the actual storyline quest.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to get the radio to work, and you're trying to, in order to broadcast the signal.
Right. So I guess it's not really a casual thing.
No, No, there's barely anyone alive.
Yeah, I guess the radio operator doesn't seem much like a DJ anyway.
Yeah. I'm like, not everybody's dead, at least in this mode, but the overriding storyline here is that everyone's vanished. What the hell happened?
Yeah.
And like the implication is that people have turned into zombies, or they
stone.
have turned into stone, like actual stone. Caused by these anomalies.
I never tried breaking any of them. Can you?
No, indestructible.
Hmm?
They're indestructible. They actually become enemies later on.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe you shouldn't have mentioned that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm like, that. Yeah, it's like, yeah, they do the fucking weeping angels thing. But anyway, let's see. Yeah, the various survival modes. You've got your health. You got your mental health. You got something called safety that I never let run down, but I'm not exactly sure what that does.
I think it's supposed to. It revolves around the night time we were near a campfire. Supposedly, I recall when I was playing this back in its early access that there was enemies that would attack you in the night, but I didn't see any of that in this version. So,
Curious.
Yeah, I didn't see any extra enemies at night.
Yeah. And you got your stamina, which that's for sprinting and such. And then there's a bit later on, you get your fifth bar. And that's radioactivity. And that's where the whole pills things comes into play. You've got to take medicine every 12 hours, or you start, or really when your energy comes down, or you risk getting infected.
Which is bad.
And I'm guessing infection equals game over?
I didn't get that down to that.
Me neither.
So, and that leads me to my next point, which is dying can actually help you. It sounds weird, but if you die, your meters are reset. Your safety and your mental health go to 50%. Your radioactivity goes back to 100%. So yeah,
or at least in story mode.
Yes.
In survival, you die, you die.
Yes. So yeah, that actually happened to me. I was running low on, I had no radioactivity medicine, and my radioactivity levels were getting really critical. So I basically suicided, and I was fine in my next life. I'm not sure if this is unlimited spawnings, because this thing keeps going on about how, regenerating all these times may have driven the villagers to become zombies or what have you. But if it does, it's a lot of lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's no actual indication that these things are actually doing anything to you. Let's see. Price. So this is actually one of the things that makes this game most attractive, as Shadows of Kurgansk here comes in at a mere $7. And that is a really good price. I'll be honest, that actually feels like it's a little low for a game of this nature.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not complaining about that. I'm just noting, usually survival horror crafting games or whatever come in at like $20, $30, maybe more. But yeah, I'm like, this is just $7, and that's an easily recommended price. On mobile, looks like it's a free to start game. It's like I'm not sure exactly what microtransactions they got going on here,
if any. I mean, it might be just ads or something like that.
Yeah, it could be ad supported, but yeah, it's like I really cannot recommend the mobile versions of this because I just don't see them being any good.
Yeah.
And let's see, taking the whole package in together, I'd give this a solid 6. A fair recommendation. Like, it's definitely not the tops of the genre, and it's got some bugs I've encountered. Like, one of the zombies was running through the ground, and like a rock got stuck on a cliff. But open world games such as this, even things as small as that, kind of what I was expecting. So where do you guys lie?
Well, I guess we could also mention about the auto-saving.
Oh, yes. Well, I think that's kind of a feature of this genre.
Some don't.
Yeah.
Like, I know Minecraft doesn't.
Well, I mean, I'm talking more the dedicated survival crafting games. It's like that's the old roguelike trick. It continuously auto-saves to make sure you don't jank out and, on your deaths.
Mm-hmm.
But the autosave is much more of a hassle, when the permadeath is in the air.
Right.
Anything else we need to state?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this kind of, I'm not super experienced at this genre, but it seems like decent enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get your feet wet, and this is probably a better place to start than like Rust or something like that. It's a lot more accessible than those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is, as we already said, this is kind of average for a survival type game. There are better out there, but if you want to experience with them, you could probably start here and get the hang of it and see if you. The other ones like 7 Days to Die or such would be more appealing to you.
And this is a single player only affair, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess that's something to consider if you're looking for a survival game to play with friends. This isn't it.
Yeah.
Right. Anything else that we need to say on Shadows of Kurgansk?
Not that I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
It seems pretty okay, and at that price point, it's probably worth checking out.
Okay, then. So that'll about do it for this review. Stay tuned in a bit, as we've got one last title in Stardrift Nomad. And good gaming, etc., etc.